Hi, I welcome you into this section. In this section, we'll be looking at the other parts of the human eyes. In the previous sections, we looked at the muscles, so the lectoral gland, the inferior tarsus, levator muscles, lacrimal sac, and all of that. But in this section, we shall focus on aqueous humor, vitreous humor, optic nerve, the lens. So that will be the focus of this section. So this is the transparent part of the eye known as the cornea. And this color background you are seeing here is the iris, whereas the center point here is the pupil. We've looked at that. Then the white part is the sclera, which provides attachment. Now, looking at this, you see this muscle surrounding this eye. This muscle is known as orbicularis oris, orbicularis oculi muscle. It is known as orbicularis oculi muscle. What is the main function of this muscle? The main function of the orbicularis oculi muscle is to enclose the eyelid. It is responsible for closing the eyelids, allowing for blinking, and preventing foreign particles, excessive light, and wind from irritating the eye. That's a major function. It is the core muscle that helps in blinking reflex. You're able to blink is because of these muscles that surrounds the eyelid. Also, it contributes in facial expression. You're able to move your eye like this, open your eyes, lids, and all of that because of the enablement given by this muscle. So that is the major function of the orbicularis oculi muscle. Now let's look at the blood vessels. Let's look at the blood vessels that supply this part of the eye. The yellow one, this yellow one is known as the supraorbital nerve, whereas this blue one is known as supraorbital vein, while the red one is known as supraorbital arteries. So these arteries supply blood and also drains deoxygenated blood from the eyes. Now, looking at this yellow structure, it's the supraorbital nerve. So it is a nerve that these ciliary zonules emerge from the ciliary body. And this is the retina. Whereas this red part is the ciliary body, and it continues with the nutritive layer of the eye. It is responsible for supplying nutrients to the eye, both the inside and the outside part of the eye. So now, as we're moving inside, we were going to go in to find out the inner structures of the eye going forward. Now, this yellow part of the eye is known as the retina. The retina is a light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye that contains photoreceptors known as the rod and cone cells. It has several functions it does to the eye. First is light detection. The rod cells detect low light levels and are very important for night vision, while the cone cells are responsible for color vision and functions best in the bright light. So the rod cells is important for night vision, whereas the cone cells are responsible for bright vision. So you're able to see in the dark because of the rod cells, and you're able to see in the bright light because of the cone cells. Another function of the retina is image processing. The retina converts light into electrical impulses. It performs initial processing of visual information before sending it into the brain for interpretation. Also, the arrangement of both rod and cone cells in the retina allows the retina to detect motions and recognize different colors, which helps us to in our visual field. So principally the retina does these three functions: light detection, image processing, and visual field. So that is the main function of the retina. Inside this retina, you have blood vessels around. Now, looking at inside this inner part of the eye, there is a fluid. There's a fluid known as vitreous humor. The fluid that fills here is known as the vitreous humor. The vitreous humor is a gel-like substance that fills the large space between the lens and the retina. Here is the lens, and here is the retina. So this fluid that fills here is known as vitreous humor. What is the main function? The main function is to maintain the shape of the eye. It also provides support to the retina, keeping it in place against the choroid layer at the back of the eye. It kind of gives a counter pressure that enables the retina to stay in place. Remember, this is the sclera with continuous of the cornea. And here is the aqueous humor, that is the fluid between the cornea and the lens. Look at the lens. And you know the function of the lens in light refraction. It is the chief light refractor. This aqueous humor here is clear, watery fluid that is being produced by the ciliary body. It's being produced by this ciliary zonules. This ciliary body is the one that secretes the aqueous humor. And it fills the anterior chamber of the eye here. The major function is to supply nutrients and remove metabolic waste from the cornea and the lens, but it do not have blood supply. So its major function is to provide nutrients and remove waste from the cornea. The cornea contains cells, and supply nutrients to the cornea and the lens, and also remove the waste from these cells. Another function is intraocular pressure maintenance. It helps maintain intraocular pressure, which is important for the eye shape and proper functioning of the eye. Lastly, the aqueous humor contributes to eye optical power. That's what is called optical power. It helps in focusing light onto the retina. I told you earlier when we had the first section that the cornea does a function of light refraction. It bends light. The same way, this aqueous humor also bends light. The same way, the lens bends light, and the same way, the vitreous humor bends light. So with that, the light is able to be focused. That is why when the light hits this medium, it's being refracted. So all of this, the cornea, the aqueous humor, the lens, and the vitreous humor contribute to light refraction. So that is the major function of the vitreous humor, the lens, the aqueous humor. Another structure we're going to look at is the optic nerve. The optic nerve is the bundle of more than 1 million nerve fibers. That is the optic nerve, million nerve fibers that transmit visual information from the retina to the brain. That is the major function of the optic nerve. Other function is visual perception. It plays important role in perception of visual images, which influence our interpretation of the world around us. So these are the functions of the inner structures of the eye. Lastly, the ciliary body. The ciliary body, like we said, look at the ciliary zonules here. It's a ring of muscles and tissues located behind the iris. Its primary function is accommodation because it is the one responsible for moving the lens, focusing the lens. Okay, so when it contracts, the lens becomes thicker, but when it relaxes, the lens also follows suit. So that is the function of the ciliary body. So in this section, we've been able to look at the structures found inside the eye, such as the vitreous humor, the aqueous humor, the lens, the ciliary zonules. We also look at the choroid layer. The choroid layer, or you call it the nutritive layer, is the continuous part of the ciliary body. It has the rich blood supply. We also have looked at the optic nerve and also have looked at the lens, the aqueous humor, and the vitreous humor. In the previous section, we looked at the pupil, the iris, the sclera, the cornea, the muscles such as levator palpebrae superioris muscle, the lateral palpebral ligament, and every other structures. In other sections, we also looked at the eyelashes and the eyebrow and their functions. With this, we've come to the end of the structures of the eyes.